A lot of people want financial freedom, but very few find it because they don't understand how to get there. So today I want to cover what financial freedom can mean and then just talk about how to start your journey towards financial freedom. And then I'll keep revisiting this because it's such a big topic. So, a quick Google search of financial freedom. Copilot defines it as financial freedom is the ability to live life on your own terms without being constrained by financial worries, allowing you to make choices based on your values rather than your bank balance. And then below it says definition of financial freedom. Financial freedom refers to a state where an individual has enough savings, investment, and cash flow to afford the lifestyle desired without being burdened by debt or the need to work just to survive. It means having your control over your finances, which allows you to make life decisions without constant financial stress. So, some of the things in those two definitions kind of hit home to um, why people haven't achieved financial freedom. Most people don't have much in the way of savings or investment, and because of how much debt they have, most people have little to no cash flow. Or what I should say is they don't have a positive cash flow because the amount of debt they have, they actually have a negative cash flow. So, having debt and not enough savings and investments causes a lot of financial stress or worry, and a lot of people work to survive, but they're just living paycheck to paycheck. So you can't live the life you'd want without having to worry about, money if you don't have the savings and investments, which is why people, work. Um, so really, the first thing you need to do is you need to take a snapshot of your finances. You need to look at how much money you have coming in, where you're spending it, or, aka money going out. And that would determine, if you are spending more or less than you're bringing in. And if you have any kind of debt, that should be an indication that you're probably spending more than you're bringing in. So if you have, $10,000 in credit card debt, well, you wouldn't have $10,000 in credit card debt if, you were spending just what you need, um, coming out of your bank account. And, you know, some things like a mortgage or, a car payment or groceries might be a necessity, and other things like a Netflix subscription might not be a necessity. So once you get that snapshot of your finances, it might be beneficial to start looking line by line of what you're spending, and you're, when you figure that out, you can start saying, okay, can I cancel this subscription? Okay, can I um, get a store brand of this at the grocery store instead of the name brand? Can I, um, you know, not eat out for, you know, a meal a day every day out of the week? Can I do 4 days a week instead of seven? Or can I, make more homemade meals? Um, shift the way you do things to start saving if you're spending more than you're bringing in. And, that might be seen as a poverty mindset by trying to not spend as much, but really, um, you need to get your spending habits under control before they snowball more and, start working against you. If you have, the $10,000 in credit card I mentioned earlier, do you really want that 10,000 to turn into 15,000 or 20,000 just because you're um, not taking a look at your spending and how you can fix it? Um, Now, obviously, spending is just one aspect. You can always, try to increase your income. You could go talk to your manager to see if they'll give you a raise. If they can't give you a raise, um, is there a similar job out there that you could make an extra buck an hour? Or, can you get a second job? Can you, um, you know, improve some skills to maybe get a promotion? So, savings and increasing your income will, make make up for some of, you spending more than you make. Um, and then once you flip that from, maybe you started by, spending $200 more than your paycheck, and then maybe you cut back on your spending by $100 per paycheck, and you somehow earned an extra $50 per paycheck. Well, you shrunk the, overspend from 200 down to 50. You know, that'll help. It might not put you, um, you might not necessarily be saving, but you're not spending more and getting more in the hole. Um, and eventually the idea is to start saving so you can invest. And then once you do, have a positive cash flow, or, you're saving more than, saving some of your paycheck, um, you know, some financial advisors will tell you to save for emergency fund first and then start investing. Others might tell you to start investing first, and some might tell you to do both at the same time. Um, Really, it's a matter of looking at your particular um, financial situation to determine what's best for you. If you have an unreliable car, one that's breaking down every few months, do you think you're gonna want a little bit of cash in the bank to, you know, pay for that next um, thing that breaks on your car? Or do you think you're gonna want um, $500 in your investment account? Well, um, you know, a little bit of a cushion, an emergency fund might be more beneficial in that instance. Um, but if you have reliable transportation, then maybe putting that $500 towards your brokerage will help. Um, you know, having money invested in the stock market, you can get um, dividend fund or dividend stocks that'll then every quarter or every month, depending on the frequency, they'll give you some money, which if you reinvest those dividends, can then buy more of that particular stock. Um, that can definitely be taking your money and have your money make more money. Real estate's another way, but usually real estate, you need a lot of money. And if, you're in debt or if you're only clearing 50 to $100, a paycheck, you're not going to have the amount of money you would want to invest in real estate right off. Um, so we'll kind of touch on that in another video, real estate and stocks and other forms of investment, what might be best for you. Um, so hopefully you found some value in this. Please check back somewhat regularly to see some more financial related topics. Thanks and have a good day.